The new MCU is a term I have coined as a simple and accurate way of referring to the multiverse saga, seeing as how there is no reasonable place to draw the line that separates Phase 4 from Phase 5. Unlike Phases 1, 2 and 3, which all had a specific purpose and theme that culminated in a big Avengers team-up movie to signify the end of a particular section of the Infinity Saga and the official start of a new phase in the franchise. But in the case of Phase 4, they just released a bunch of inconsequential garbage that had no real narrative flow, no purpose other than to oversaturate the market with projects that had no sense of direction and therefore had no real ending. So they just closed their eyes and draw an arbitrary line at the end of 2022 that just so happened to land on Wakanda Forever. The new MCU has dished out a total of 19 projects so far. 19! That is more content than the whole of Phases 1 and 2 combined. Which means that in the past 2.5 years, we've gotten more narratively inconsistent projects than we got in the entire 8 years it took to seamlessly and individually wrap up Phases 1 and 2 of the MCU. I'm just now realizing that they actually managed to produce more than double the content, wait for it, in less than half the time, without even trying to be subtle about their new quantity over quality mentality. So anybody that's trying to tell me that they are still in their setup, build up and foundational phase can take several seats, because with the amount of content that is out in the new MCU right now, the Infinity Saga had already set us up with likable characters and rewarded our investment by putting them all in a movie together twice, and with the remaining 7 movies had already introduced brand new characters, created tension between our already existing heroes, rebranded some of the less interesting ones, and put them all in another Avengers movie. Yet Captain African American still hasn't met the independent Iron Woman of color. But even after hearing all that, somebody will still bring up the argument that Phases 1, 2 and 3 still had a few bad movies here and there. So why am I being so hard on Phase 4? Well, first of all, this hypothetical person that I will definitely 100% for sure not see in my comment section just ignored several of my main points. But regardless, I'm a professional, so I'll address his complaints nonetheless. Secondly, yes, Phases 1, 2 and 3 had a few not so great movies, but as bad as Thor: The Dark World was, it introduced the Reality Stone. As basic as Captain America: The First Avenger was, that movie gave us the Space Stone. And as pointless as Ant-Man and the Wasp was, it introduced the Quantum Realm. So even the average movies of the Infinity Saga still contributed something to the overarching narrative of the franchise. But please, tell me, how exactly did She-Hulk add to the multiverse saga? What new multiverse mechanic did Shang-Chi introduce to the new MCU? What exactly did a bloated, boring, aimless movie about 10 brand new, diverse, low-budget Justice League rip-offs contribute in their flop of a movie that will be anywhere near useful in defeating Kang and his variants? But again, as I said, my viewers are way too smart to be making this kind of argument, so I'm definitely not going to expect to see this person in my comment section. Let's move on. But let's also remember that neither of these projects gave us a new focal character to latch onto, and definitely didn't give us any sense of direction for the multiverse saga. So this trauma, built on the basis of the Infinity and Multiverse saga both having bad movies, fails on every level. Not to mention that the projects that do contribute to the multiverse element of the Multiverse saga never fail to blatantly contradict everything that came before it. Check out my MCU Multiverse video and my MCU is Dead video for the full breakdowns of these 2 points. So there is no way, no foundation, no explanation, no precedent and no arguments that you can use to even begin to make a case for why Marvel keeps making so many pointless MCU projects right now. The entirety of the new MCU has ranged from average products that I didn't mind consuming but have zero intentions of ever consuming again, to just straight up hot garbage that I actively regret watching and sometimes didn't even get past episode 1 before I stopped. Yeah, I'm looking at you, She-Hulk. The only remotely good thing from the new MCU are No Way Home and Guardians Volume 3. The former being an average movie that adds to the overall multiversal inconsistencies of the saga, but is elevated only by its superior use of cameos and superb nostalgia baiting techniques. And the latter being the oversaturated but enjoyable conclusion to a trilogy that added nothing to the multiverse saga and will never be revisited again. Not to mention those med packs they introduced in the movie that can heal literally any wound or battle damage, which we will never see in the MCU again, because on top of being oversaturated with bullshit, they had to actively make these projects either destroy the concrete world building that was meticulously established by the Infinity Saga, or bear no real consequence to the greater interconnected universe which they exist in. Seeing as how Gaia is now apparently the second second female character to now be the most powerful person in the MCU, which we will never see again, probably until Avengers Secret Wars in a pointless cameo. Now, the reason we haven't seen Brie Larson in any of the MCU movies again since Avengers Endgame, seeing as how they plan to make her the next Iron Man of the franchise, is simply because nobody liked her. But the reason we're not going to see Gaia in the MCU ever again until a pointless cameo is because the writers are simply going to forget that they made a fucking 4-foot tall white woman the most powerful character in the MCU. They don't read the fucking comics and they don't watch the project that directly precede the story they're about to write. So don't expect to see Gaia in the MCU ever again for as long as possible. Things like this only explicitly confirm that the events in the MCU are pretty much all inconsequential, because by the next project they are completely forgotten and disregarded, playing no role in the story that comes after it. Sometimes we're lucky if they even get referenced at all. The recently developed inconsequential nature of the events in the MCU is a direct result of the oversaturation problem, because if you make enough rotten content for people to consume, it won't take that much time before you either start forgetting what you already established in previous projects, or just outright start ignoring it in an attempt to cover up major events from projects because of how poorly it was received by the fans. A great example of this can be found in that dreaded Eternals movie, where at the end the very visible head and fingers of a giant celestial are sticking out of the ocean, and for 9 straight projects nobody in the MCU even tried to mention it. If anybody comes in my comment section trying to tell me about the fucking microscopic headline buried in the corner of a screen that mentions a giant ocean statue in the 2nd episode of She-Hulk, I will find you and I will beat some sense into you, because that is the dumbest defense on behalf of the MCU I have ever heard for such a blatant display of contempt towards the narrative flaw of their own franchise. But let me attempt to humor the point for a bit. So let me get this straight. As a result of the climax of a blockbuster MCU movie that takes place in their shared universe, there is a giant head and hand sticking out of the ocean that's so big that it is visible from space, and that was the only way they could address or even reference it. 7 whole projects later, in a tiny, barely visible headline in the corner of a screen in a show with 30-minute long episodes that nobody watched. What are we even doing here? You couldn't even have Scott squeeze it into his opening monologue in Ant-Man 3, so we know we didn't at least waste our time watching a 2.5 hour long promotional ad for all the brand new, ethnically diverse and body positive heroes that we'll definitely never see again because their film flopped harder than the entire DCEU. You're seriously that desperate to make us forget about that horribly boring and pointless dumpster fire of a movie at the expense of your preciously well preserved and previously unblemished continuity? Okay, in the Moon Knight TV show, Steven spun the night sky like it was a fucking basketball, and no other Avenger tried to figure out what just happened. No single mention of it in Doctor Strange or Miss Marvel, 2 projects that came right after Moon Knight. The stars in the night sky were very visibly spinning for a full 60 seconds and it's never referenced again. Alright, Loki season 1 ended on a big bad cliffhanger where the evil variant of Kang finally took over the TVA and the sacred timeline was no more. 14 projects later, and we have seen no repercussions from that finale. No multiversal problems that can be directly linked back to Loki. No sighting of the evil variant of Kang meddling in the background, altering events, or even attempting to restart that multiversal war we've heard so much about. We actually got an evil Kang in Quantumania, but he makes zero reference to the TVA, Loki, or the sacred timeline. The closest he comes to being connected to Loki season 1 is that he has the same face as that weird guy from the finale and uses the same PowerPoint hologram to visualize the multiverse. He doesn't even have that little Clockwork Orange AI assistant he had in Loki. It's almost as if I wasted 6 whole weeks following an average TV show that was completely inconsequential to the greater universe that it claims to be connected to. If Loki season 2 fails to reference the multiversal events of Quantumania, No Way Home, or Multiverse of Madness, we're going to have a lot of problems. I'll even settle for a reference to What If or a live action cameo from The Watcher. Something, anything to connect these inconsistent multiversal projects to each other. The Infinity Saga was simple. There were 6 Infinity Stones and there was this big purple guy that was trying to collect them all so he could snap his fingers and kill half of one universe. Very rudimentary stuff. We always knew who had which stone at any point in time, and we only got their origin when Thanos finally decided to actually do it himself by sending his kids to do it for him. Now, there are about 1 million different guys in purple that want to destroy an infinite number of universes, and we can't keep track of who is who or what is going on half the time because we keep getting brand new explanations in each new multiverse project that all contradict each other. Nobody asked Marvel Studios to do any of this confusing nonsense. They literally just created the biggest event in cinematic cinematic history with the most interconnected story ever told. The next step shouldn't be to kill yourself trying to top the last biggest thing the whole world had ever seen. That would be a pointless endeavor because Endgame took a whole 11 years to build up to. Trying to replicate a payoff of such magnitude in less than 3 years is the textbook definition of creative and narrative self-sabotage. You will literally burn yourself out trying to catch lightning in a bottle again on a shorter timeline. And even if you do somehow manage to create another endgame level event in under 3 years, it will be to your own detriment because now everybody will be numb to it and it will no longer be this great thing that they experienced before. It will just be the standard that everybody expects, which will take away what made it special in the first place. Which ironically is exactly what happened to the MCU as a result of all the content they were shoving down our throats on an almost bi-monthly basis. We used to have 2 MCU movies every year, spread out just enough to keep us wanting more, but never so much that they would fade away from public discussion. The latest MCU movie, 3 months before and after it was released, was all anybody could talk about. The people that made trailer breakdowns and Easter egg videos during that era were eating so good because the moment the new MCU trailer dropped, everybody was watching multiple trailer breakdowns and rewatching the trailer on loop with their friends. 2 seconds after leaving the movie theater, everybody watching a breakdown of the 2 post-credit scenes they just waited 15 minutes after the movie to see. Then immediately watching a 30-minute breakdown of the movie, showing them the 40 different Easter eggs and hidden details that they missed. Now when every YouTube video had red circles and red arrows on their thumbnails, now nobody cares enough to even watch the latest Secret Invasion show, let alone make weekly videos on it. It's rated as the worst MCU TV show so far, and still nobody is talking about it because it's not even worth hate watching at this point. The only reason the finale got any traction online is because of that abysmal final fight scene. The MCU has diluted its brand with what's essentially factory filmmaking, falling in love with quantity while forgetting that it was quality that got them to where they are. Their obsession with releasing back-to-back copy and paste mediocre weekly content has ultimately resulted in apathy from the fans. Marvel, you guys, listen, not every single Phase 4 project had to end with a big generic CGI battle for the fate of the world that we've all seen a billion times over. The world almost ends every single month in the MCU and nobody cares anymore. You can't even blame this on general superhero fatigue because everybody loved Across the Spider-Verse and we're all anxiously waiting for part 2. Phase 4 would have been a perfect time to rebuild the universe and repopulate it with newer, smaller, ground-level characters, telling small-scale stories and actually making character-driven movies that will get the audience invested in the franchise all over again. Then you can slowly build up to the multiversal bullshit that we all know you really want to do. I've partially scripted a video where I essentially fixed the entire multiverse saga by, removing all the TV shows, introducing ground-level characters, telling street-level stories, then slowly bring them together in a culminating movie to end the phase. Then in the next phase, we start building up the multiversal stuff, ramping it up like that. I like my ideas, but I really don't know if I'm going to end up finishing that video or not. But it exists. What's even crazier is the fact that even though all these projects are incoherently inconsistent and inconsequential, you still need to watch all of them to understand anything about the next big movie. Just look at the Marvels. To understand a movie that's coming out in theaters, you need to have watched Captain Marvel 2019, WandaVision, Miss Marvel, and Secret Invasion. Let me repeat that in case you guys didn't get it. In order to understand the sequel to a shitty movie from 4 years ago, you need to have watched 3 hilariously horrible TV shows. And it's not just the Marvels. To have understood Multiverse of Madness, you needed to have watched Doctor Strange 2016, Infinity War, WandaVision, and What If. I would have added Loki to that list, but if you watch my MCU Multiverse video, then you'd know that nothing from the events of Loki has ever been referenced since that show ended. The same show that revealed to us what seemed to be the definitive multiversal explanation and the next big bad guy of the saga. This is getting very ridiculous because it's bad enough the movies are dumb and pointless. You're now making us watch hours of equally horrible TV shows just to understand the new shitty movies. Naji, this has to be some sort of advanced torture for real. And it doesn't just end with the movies, it's starting to seep into the TV shows as well, because to understand Echo, an upcoming TV show that is a spin-off of the Hawkeye TV show, which was a series centered around the lamest Avenger, starring an independent, deaf, indigenous amputee woman of queer color. Oh boy, she ticks all the boxes, doesn't she? You need to have watched, wait for it, Avengers, Hawkeye, the original Netflix Daredevil TV show, She-Hulk, and just for good measure, No Way Home. Because of the fact that nobody knows who this fucking character is aside from comic book readers, they have to stuff her TV show with as much recognizable IP as possible. So Daredevil is going to be there and Kingpin is going to be the main villain apparently. So this should be fun. Good luck to those of you that are going to be brave enough to watch that show when it comes out. I mean, they already essentially castrated Kingpin in Hawkeye by having a girl defeat him, and emasculated Daredevil by turning him into a fucking one-night stand in the She-Hulk TV show. So how bad could it possibly get? But actually, Hawkeye and Echo and Kingpin, they all in the comics together and they have adventures and they go on tea parties and they in the comics together, you know, Sweet. And look over here, in this one issue, Echo and Daredevil be straight fucking, my bro. It's in the comics. Bro, relax. Nobody gives a fuck about Echo, nigga. Fuck.
Sometimes family doesn't see eye to eye.
That guy exists. That guy, those guys, they exist. Shockingly, but it's true. They there. People that just immediately run to the comics to defend any fucking dumbass decision Marvel makes. Have fun watching a fucking TV show that's going to make zero money and get zero views, my dude. We haven't gotten X-Men or Fantastic Four or Doctor Doom or fucking Galactus in the fucking MCU. But we're getting Echo, Agatha, Ironheart, Black Captain, Falcon America.
That's the Black Falcon there. I tell you. Nah, that's Captain America.
Shut your dumb ass up, nigga. No, he's not. The fuck? Oh, and you wonder why your franchise is dying. Even the motivations of our allegedly official next big bad guy of the franchise is as inconsistent as the saga he's in, because in one movie, his motivation shifts from wanting to save the multiverse from his evil variants by destroying the multiverse to just wanting to make his variants pay for banishing him away by ending all the timelines. So, is he motivated by righteous indignation or petty vengeance? Either way, he's got those timelines in his sights. I don't think I'll ever stop complaining about Kang in these MCU videos for real, because so far, he's just a poor excuse for a villain, especially when compared to the likes of Thanos. His power levels also make no fucking sense, because apparently he's strong enough to have killed multiple versions of the Avengers, including the freaking God of Thunder, but can't defeat little old Ant-Man and his short-haired independent CEO girlfriend. Oh my lord, Kang, that's you, bro. That's you, nigga. Damn, bro. Not to mention how inconsistent the quantum realm is, because the movie says it's a place outside of time and space. Yes, Kang keeps complaining about how much time he has lost due to his banishment by his variants, and at the same time, he keeps telling Scott and Janice how he has the power to control time and give them all the time they need. So, is he like a time genie that can only grant time wishes for other people but not himself? If not, why is he complaining about all the time he's lost if he can just give himself more time like he keeps promising to other people? And why did he lose any time at all if the quantum realm is supposed to be a place outside of time and fucking space? Fuck, man. Fucking hell, bro. I wrote this part of the video while I was editing the MCU multiverse video, because if I went back and recorded these lines, that video would have just turned into a Kang rant video. Speaking of things I didn't mention in my multiverse video and things that are never going to be referenced in the franchise ever again. Incursions. What the fuck are those? They were introduced in the Multiverse of Madness as a concept, most likely as a setup for Secret Invasion. Sorry, no, got my comic books mixed up there. Most likely as a setup for Secret Wars, which by the way is a completely different multiverse story that has nothing to do with Kang but everything to do with Doctor Doom and the Fantastic Four. An entirely different set of characters that they are nowhere near close to even introducing. It's essentially a catastrophic event that involves the collision of Earths from different realities and the destruction that comes from them crashing into each other as a result of somebody from another universe visiting a different universe. So either they are disjointedly trying to set up two different multiversal plot points at the same time, or they are so unfocused in what they are doing that they actively started taking away the spotlight from Kang before they officially introduced him. And to prove to you it has nothing to do with Kang, among other things, the word incursion is never once mentioned in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, the big movie that was allegedly supposed to be our big introduction to the multiverse saga and our main multiverse villain. Oh yeah, and by the way, Kang has a spaceship that has a multiversal engine that can take you anywhere in the multiverse. Meanwhile, in Multiverse of Madness, we are told that only America Chavez has the power to physically travel the multiverse, which is why she was essentially the MacGuffin of the entire movie. But you know, no big deal, just another world-breaking multiversal inconsistency courtesy of the new MCU. Just add it to the pile, there's a whole lot more where that came from. Ever since I uploaded my MCU multiverse video, it's like I keep finding brand new multiversal inconsistencies everywhere I turn. Like this one from Loki that I completely forgot about. Nexus events. Again, what the fuck are those? Besides being casually referenced in WandaVision, Nexus events is another terminology that was brought up in Loki. But since nobody follows the setup of that show, it has never been brought up again. It is essentially an event that goes against the flow of the sacred timeline, and if left unchecked will lead to a branch timeline leading to the creation of the multiverse. You know, with the amount of canon that was established and immediately abandoned by that TV show, it makes you wonder if they ever knew what they wanted to do with that series. They especially don't know what to do with Doctor Strange, because they refused to add him in WandaVision, a show where it would have made perfect sense for him to show up in. Then they tried to make him into a Tony Stark replacement in the new saga by adding him to the two big theatrical projects that center around the MCU's multiverse. Then in the next big multiverse project, he's just nowhere to be found, not even in a cameo that shows him going from the dark dimension where we left him in the post-credit scene of his own movie to the quantum realm to find Kang or something. You know, sometimes I really feel like the fans put in way more mental effort into the continuity of this franchise than these writers and executives do, because we always put so much faith in them and they always fail to deliver. The director of Secret Invasion even recently came out and said that fan expectations were way too high after they clowned him for making a fucking piece of shit TV show. So, expecting an accurate depiction of the comic book story that you are adapting in both story and title, proper treatment of the characters we've come to know and love, and a story that makes sense and keeps us engaged throughout is too much to ask. Fuck off, bro. Fuck. Okay, we're done ranting. Cue the outro. Let's get the fuck out of here. The oversaturation of the MCU has led to severe devaluation of the brand, a lack of direction for the franchise, a deep sense of pointlessness of its events, and extreme apathy in the audience towards their products, which has led to several box office flops and a steep decline in Disney Plus viewership and subscribers. Marvel, kindly go back to the drawing board and don't come back until you have a solid plan for your fucking franchise. Sincerely, Weko the Weirdo. Alright, later niggas. I'm about to go watch me some Ozark. Let's go.